She knew her name. Yes, the one given to her by her parents. Yet she also embodied, she incarnated her true identity, her foundation. Beloved. Beloved child of God, deserving love and respect. And God will use her to change the world for good. Precious daughter of God, with whom God delights. For she was made for these times. These times were Montgomery, Alabama, December 1st, 1955. It's early evening and a public bus pulls to a stop, and a sensibly dressed woman in her 40s gets on. She carries herself erectly, despite having spent the day bent over an ironing board in a dingy basement tailor shop at the Montgomery Fair department store. Her feet are swollen, her shoulders ache. She sits in the front row of the colored section and watches quietly as the bus fills with riders, until the driver orders her to give her seat to a white passenger. The woman utters a single word that would ignite one of the most important civil rights protests of the 20th century. One word that helps America find its better self. No, she firmly proclaims. No. The driver threatens to have her arrested. You may do that, says Rosa Parks. A police officer arrives. He asks Mrs. Parks why she won't move. Why do you all push us around? She answers simply. I don't know, says the officer, but the law is the law and you're under arrest. On the afternoon of her trial and conviction for disorderly conduct, the Montgomery Improvement Association holds a rally for Parks at the Holt Street Baptist Church in the poorest section of town. Over 5,000 people come to support Rosa Parks. They squeeze inside this church until it's full, and then people are outside listening on the loudspeakers, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King addresses the crowd and says this: there comes a time that people get tired of being trampled over the iron feet of oppression. There comes a time when people get tired of being pushed out of the glittering sunlight of life's July and left standing amidst the piercing chill of an alpine November. He praises Parks' bravery. She stands silently, and it galvanizes that crowd. The association, as you know, launches that citywide bus boycott that lasts 381 days. People trudge miles to work. They carpool with strangers. They change the course of American history. If you were like me, you might have been taught Rosa Parks was just this figure who one day got tired of being pushed around. Yet Rosa Parks had been made for this moment. Rosa Parks knew about the NAACP and has been with them for years and years. Rosa Parks knew about collective organizing and praying with her feet as she marched with other people. She knew that they would be stronger together. She knew about nonviolent resistance. She knew that when she was a child, the Ku Klux Klan would march in front of her childhood house. She knew that her brother, who served proudly in World War II, who helped save white soldiers, would return home and be spat upon. Rosa Parks was made for such a moment as this. Rosa Parks was a Christian woman. Rosa Parks knew about following her Jesus. Rosa Parks was anointed. She had been preparing and readying herself for the fierce urgency of now. The fierce urgency of now. This is not the time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or taking that tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Dr. King reminds us from his I Have a Dream speech. Despite her real daily circumstances, despite hearing day in and day out that she was not worthy, as a woman whose skin was a little bit darker than others. She wasn't worthy of justice, they would tell her, or equality, and yet she held tight to a larger life-giving vision. She was willing to step into her destiny, and she would not be swayed. She was anointed for such a time as this. The time where we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, and yes, our forefathers had a bit of a misstep, didn't they? Stuck in their time. They misstepped about people of color and slaves and women. So we'll enlarge that this morning, that all people are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We all know that, right? In the Declaration of Independence is this imago Dei, endowed by our Creator with this God stuff, that this with us is God. She'd been preparing for this moment her entire life. She was getting ready. We can imagine Rosa and her folks in church hearing the scripture that Mary Kay read for us this morning, where Jesus asks the question, "What are you looking for?" We all ask that question, whether we're conscious of it at night. That was interesting, wasn't it? When we have those moments to rest and let the mind stop, and we ask ourselves, what are we looking for? We bring with us that question each time we arrive here. What are you looking for? What are you needing? What is it that brings you to this place Sunday after Sunday? What are you looking for? Jesus asks. And in this scripture, we hear, as Miss Nicole brought to life so beautifully, different aspects of this Jesus. Maybe you're coming and you're looking for that Son of God. Maybe you're coming and you're looking for the Messiah, and I know that's a word that has a lot placed upon it. The one who saves us into who we're anointed to be. Maybe you're looking for the Anointed One. Or Rabbi, you're needing a teacher. Or possibly the healer or the brother or the sustaining presence. Whatever it is you're looking for, there's this Jesus who's showing up in this time, in this place, who says also, come and see. Come and see what I have for you. There's a beautiful see in Greek, as you know, is meno, which means abide. So another way to reframe this, Jesus is saying, come and abide. Come and live in me and let me give you this life-giving presence. Come and show up. Bring those questions. Bring whatever you're looking for. Come and show up. Be seen, be heard, be loved. Last week, if you weren't here last week, the reason why we kept these up a little bit longer is folks were invited to come forward. In a few minutes, you'll be invited too. To come forward and remind ourselves of our baptism with this water. To remind ourselves of this baptism that Jesus names and claims us beloved children of God. And it's also at that time that we're given the name Christian. We're given the name followers of Jesus on the way. Followers of Jesus means that we are to be guided by His actions in every facet of our lives. Every facet of our lives. We're invited to come and abide. To abide means we'll belong. To abide means we can be saved into. To come and belong in this sacred space. And in these times in which we live, it's rather challenging, isn't it, to be guided by Jesus' actions in every facet of our lives. For many of you have shared with me you're struggling. You're afraid. You have some anxiety about where we're headed as a nation, about this new administration that will soon take office. Many of you have shared with me that you are concerned what this means about how we live our ethics and our moralities as people of God in this time and this place. You're concerned about civil liberties and the democracy for the people, by the people. And I'm right there with you. My family and I have health care through the Affordable Care Act. Very thankful that you all provide that to my family and I. I've been wondering if I need to write my quarterly tax payment on Tuesday. It's almost $2,000. Do I write that check out? Reason why I believe in writing that check is it goes towards Social Security and Medicare and all of that good stuff. Folks who have lived and done the good work. That's part of what we do, right? We contribute one to another. So I'm right there with you, my beloved congregation. And lately I've been leaning into the wisdom not only of our scripture, but the wisdom of Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, Women Who Run with the Wolves. Her recent one, Untie the Strong Woman, if you're looking for a good read. She tells us this: My friends, do not lose heart. We were made for these times. My friends, do not lose heart. We were made for these times. I have heard from so many recently who are deeply and properly bewildered. They are concerned about the state of affairs in our world right now. Ours is a time of almost daily astonishment and often righteous rage over the latest degradation of what matters most to civilized visionary people. She tells us you are right in your assessments. The luster and hubris some have aspired to while endorsing acts so heinous against children, elders, everyday people, the poor, the unguarded, the helpless, is breathtaking. Yet I urge you, ask you, gentle you, to please not spend your spirit dry by bewailing these difficult times. Especially do not lose hope. Most particularly because the fact is that we were made for these times. For years we have been learning, we've been practicing, we've been in training for just this moment, waiting to meet in this exact plane of engagement. She tells us in any dark time there's a tendency to veer towards fainting over how much is wrong and unmended in the world. It's okay to do your fainting. But she says, do not focus on that. There is a tendency, too, to fall into being weakened by dwelling on what is outside your reach, by what you cannot yet be. Do not focus there. That is spending the wind without raising the sails. Instead, my church, our church, one of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul on deck shines like gold in dark times. The light of the soul throws sparks, can send flares, builds signal fires, causes proper matters to catch fire. To display the lantern of soul in shadowy times like these is to be fierce. It's to show mercy towards others. And it takes immense bravery, and it's the greatest necessity. Struggling souls catch light from others who are fully lit and willing to show it. If you would help to calm the tumult, this is one of the strongest things you can do. We were made for these times. Let us be a people who stand up and show our souls. As we abide in Jesus, as we follow this incarnational and invitational reality and allow it to sink into our very being and bones. For this Word became flesh and dwells among us and within us. And the question before us is, yes, what is it you're looking for? And here's another. What is it that you've been preparing for? That you've been readying for? That Jesus has anointed you to do and be in this time, in this place? What is it that's being called within you to be brought forth now? To be brought forth now into your own life, into your relationships, in your church, your workplace, and this world. That Jesus is saying, it's time now, honey, it's okay. I'm right here with you. And maybe you're a little weary this morning and you prefer not to engage those questions, and that's totally okay. Yes? Y'all with me in that? So here's the and. Let us then be like John and John the Baptist, who help us realize, and here's a thank God moment, it's not all up to me. It's not all up to us. Yes, we've been anointed, but let us then be like John and point others towards the light. Let us be a people who realize that we can come and abide and point others towards this Jesus who walks with them, who invites them to know their name as well. For we are a people who are beloved children of God, deserving love and respect. And God will use me, and God will use us to change the world for good. May it be so. Amen.